work by now?
Work? It's raining.
So?
No, I don't work in the rain.
You don't work in the rain? Neither rain, nor sleet, nor... It's the first one!
I was never that big on creeds.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again to the meat with my pastry. Pastry to my meat. We come together and form some sort of delicious meal.
In varying ratios from week to week, as all
right.
good meat and pastry should be. You know, I don't want a predictable meat and pastry.
No, seasoned appropriately.
Ideally gravy.
Yeah.
You know, a bit of gravy.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't get a roast beef and gravy roll from the Freeman's Waterhole Oak Milk Bar, let me tell you that.
What
Jousters.
happened?
I had 2 bites and I had to put it in the bin.
Why?
It tasted terrible.
Was it the texture?
Yeah, it was the texture. It was like you always hear about, roast beef, it should be tender, it should melt in your mouth.
Yes.
It was that, but not in an enjoyable way. I was disappointed.
I have a pretty strong stomach, right? And I had a roast beef and gravy roll once from West's at Mayfield when I worked there.
What a wonderful restaurant.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. And it was something quick. I was like, that sounds good. And I ate it, and I felt sick. And then I was sick, probably not with food poisoning, just with like stomach damage, as you would say. You know, I just felt like the rest of the evening. And I said, oh damn you!
It's more of food discomfort than a food poisoning.
It didn't quite poison me, but I'd always never experienced that. It was either full blown food poisoning or you'd just be fine. But I thought about it for the rest of the day and the evening, and I thought, I've never gone to that place again to have a gravy and beef roll. But
I hope it hasn't put you off roast beef and gravy rolls entirely, because that would be, a shame on par with. So I'm going to tune that out right there, because I was about to compare missing a roast beef and gravy roll to a terrible historical event. And I don't want to do that anymore. I've been pulled up too many times on that. Slight inconveniences are not on par with world-changing, terrible events.
That's true.
I have to be reminded that every week.
Atrocities of war and slight discomfort in the digestive system.
They are not the same.
They're not the same.
They're not the same.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me every week.
That's good. We're all learning here. This is a learning podcast. But Liam, we also you had the opportunity of going to the great and famous Wickham Park Hotel there on Maitland Road.
What a wonderful experience it was as well. Got to have a chat with Steve. Had a wonderful bread and meat experience, which we'll discuss a bit later.
Ooh,
a couple of schooners of hard rated before the game really got me in the mood to celebrate. And celebrate we did. 16,000 Newcastle Knights fans.
Yes.
But we'll get to that later.
Yes, it was a wonderful day.
I was about to go into an enormous rant about how wonderful a day it was, but we'll save that for the preview.
We can.
The review.
Hey, Liam, do you have the time on you?
I do. The time, 4 minutes to midnight. Kent o'clock. It's time for the news.
There is so much, obviously, breaking in rugby league news. There's not a week that goes past without some exciting rugby league news, but we can't go past
It's the game that keeps on giving and giving and giving. We say it every week. Rugby league is the game that keeps on giving.
You watch the games Thursday through Sunday, and then you think, well, that's it. No, the news keeps trickling on.
What is it? The rugby league soap opera, as one famed rugby league correspondent called it.
Speaking of Liam, and this
famed rugby league correspondent,
Spain, the man on the clock, Kent o'clock, he wasn't left alone by not only the pundits of rugby league, but also the journalists from other networks, mainly Channel 9, Danny Wilder.
Now, it's safe to say, and I think we've discussed this ad nauseum, but the members of the rugby league press, I'm sorry, Jousters, I haven't had a beer in about a month.
That's all right. No,
I took
back.
April off the drink. Now I've had 1.5. We've, said in the past that the rugby league media is composed of shills, of, people of, low moral standards who will backstab each other at any chance that they can get. And Weidler's not just backstabbed Paul Kent, he stabbed him in the back. He's opened his back up like in Saw. You remember in Saw, that one where he cuts the back up and he opens at the ribs, looks like an angel, and then has thrown the corpse down into the box of personal demons, or was it the basement of personal demons?
Yes.
And then just, thrown up the forks at the funeral. So, Danny Weidler if you'd cast your eyes to the screen, please, Justice, Danny Weidler has written an article. It went for about 5 pages, essentially saying that Paul Kent's own show, the show that he is the lead on, and by extension the network that he works for, are far better now that he's gone.
Well, it's possible. And he brought up some metrics there.
He did. He brought up metrics. He brought numbers into it, which we love here at the show. We love metrics. We love numbers. And just a great quote to start with. The absence of Paul Kent from Fox Sports could be a bonus for the network if its ratings when he was stood down last year are any guide. Amazing. And if we look at the numbers, he said, I think they were averaging about 11,000 views when Paul Kent was there.
Something like that.
Which isn't many. I thought it'd be way more.
No.
I'm kind of glad that what's 11,000? So 24,000 Australians minus 11,000. Yep. It's good that 23,999,000 people also hate NRL 360. That makes me feel that everything is right in the world.
We often talk about how we don't like NRL 360 sort
shills.
of, standing up there and pontificating and
don't they pontificate?
And then to talk down to the players and also just telling us apparently what to think. We say no, but apparently no one watches. No one cares.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just doing their own thing.
Well, now I have a question about that. Do you think the nursing homes, where most of Paul Kent's fans are, because they're watching on a communal television, does that count as one?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 10,000 nursing homes around the place and 1,000 just boomers who have nothing better to do on a Thursday night.
It's an extension of the Daily Telegraph, and apparently no one's reading that either. So in the end, it's on. Why are we watching? Because it's on television, but no one's watching.
But it was a drastic bump. It went from said 11,000 viewers and peaked, I believe, at about 50,000 during September, which they did forget to mention is finals time. So it's going to get more eyes. But still, that's a 5-fold increase in the absence of Paul Kent.
4 people on that show.
All is right with the world. Yeah. It's good when, good things happen to good people.
Braith is on there, and then you've got Kenty, and then the 2 other journos. And then even they get 2 other rugby league players.
James Hooper.
Yeah. And so really they're getting about 2,500 people watching per person.
You know what really sends a scared and worried shiver up my spine? Whenever I hear this, I recoil a bit.
Okay.
And now we go to James Hooper on the sideline. That strikes fear into it. That's a bad sentence.
Not very good.
But yeah, I think it's hilarious that, Weidler, who we all know as Danny Seidler, he loves having his face in as there at Paul Kent's funeral.
Yeah.
It's funny that Weidler's just basically not slandered him. He's completely tore his entire existence into the ground.
I remember Danny Wilder being sort of also the correspondent often when there was news breaking of the footy show. Now, the
he was.
I feel like I haven't been on the air for a long time. Danny Wilder looks the same. Can we get maybe
those blokes who was born 45?
Get that shit down to forensics. Let's see what is Danny Wilder drinking. I don't know. Yeah. He may have found the fountain of youth quietly. That's
but again, it keeps happening, and this year it's like we've never seen it before. The bad people in rugby league keep making great points.
Yes.
This is another great example. I disagree with Danny Weidler. I don't like anything that he does. I think he's not great at his job.
It's not hard hitting.
And apparently he thinks that about Paul Kent, so I agree with Danny Weidler all of a sudden. What's going on in the world?
You have to have a position, and one of them you either agree with one or the other because they're both against each other.
Seems like the worst people in the room are making a lot of very good points this year. That's very odd.
Speaking of, David Fafita is under contract. This is not necessarily the worst person in the room.
I'm sure he's a lovely fella. He seems like a nice guy, good at football.
He is in contract negotiations with his own club, the Gold Coast Titans, but also Penrith Panthers, but also the Roosters.
Now, you love to see this. Obviously, the Titans, a well-built roster, a powerhouse, chock full of rugby league talents. Who needs a superstar like David Fafita? Those struggling clubs, the Penrith Panthers, the Sydney Roosters, players, clubs who could do with the injection of an absolute superstar. Titans are chock full of superstars.
Yeah.
Tanner Boyd, Jaden Campbell.
And the rest.
Both and more.
All of them.
All absolute world beaters.
Yeah.
Who have Penrith got?
They've got no one.
No one.
They haven't seen success in years.
Sydney Roosters, never heard of them.
No, they
Which part of Sydney are they from? Sydney's a big thing.
They certainly weren't winning back-to-back premierships before the Penrith Panthers.
They certainly were not.
Yeah,
no. So it's really good to see that, we often in rugby league, in society, in life, you talk about the haves and the have-nots.
The fairness.
And it's good, I think, if David Fafita signs with the Penrith Panthers or Sydney Roosters, it'll be good that the have-nots finally strike a big blow. They finally say to the rugby league world, we're here.
Yeah.
We are the real deal. Watch out. Gold Coast Titans.
One for the little guy.
One for the little guys. Yeah, we love to see a little guy win.
Speaking of the little guy, David Fafita, was the most surprising thing about that was he was only 24 years old. I read the article.
Well, I remember when he debuted at 18, he already looked 50.
Yeah. Well,
much like Danny Widler.
I don't know.
There's a lot of furrows in his forehead.
Yeah, he's the furrowed brow.
The Gordon Ramsay forehead.
Yeah, he just looks always sort of cross.
But it's big numbers as well. I think we saw Sydney Roosters 3.3 million, Penrith Panthers 2.5 million.
Something like that. They're all over the millions. 3.3 and the 4.
Which, when you rule out Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, that may be more than what the Titans are paying for their entire roster.
Yeah, that's right. That might be the rest.
I can't imagine Brian Kelly's earning 6 figures. We'll be earning 5 figures.
5 figures.
Yeah, I forget how little their NRL players are paid.
It's 6
compared
figures
to sports around the world.
As long as Brian Kelly cleans up the sheds at the end of each game, then he gets his 6
Well, that's the polite thing to do. That was something we always did at Wanderers. That was impressed on us. When you finish a game, you clean the sheds.
It's mainly
the All Blacks used to do that.
Isn't it just mainly like tape and things? Tape
it's
for
mostly
socks
tape,
and strapping tape, and because you tear it off, get this off my body
with a furious passion.
Yeah, because you have to, because it's quite painful. You tear it and it's
stuck in the hair.
Then you throw it on the ground in disgust. But there's also that adhesive and sort of like physio cream smell of a room that you can never really get out, the change rooms.
I have now. In my head, there's this immense comfort when I smell Dankerub and hear the clack 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 of footy boots studs on concrete.
Oh yeah,
it sends me to a happier place. You know, it reminds me of times when things were good.
Yes,
when I was going out to bash other men and be bashed by them. That's when life is at its purest. That's when life is at its most simplest.
Yeah.
It was. So the wife. Last year she injured her shoulder and she put on Dankerub and I just sat there wistfully.
Hello.
So my shoulder sore, Liam. I was like,
and you said,
I was away with the fairy.
2013, here I come.
That year we lost the third grade grand final. Worst refereeing performance in my life, but we'll come back.
And then we lost you as well for a couple of days after that.
Yeah.
Speaking of lost men, Phil Gould, Liam, has been fined 20K.
Again, one of the small men.
Yeah, one of the little guys.
Rugby league, the little guys, you know?
Don't worry, Gus, we've got your back.
We've got your back.
It's you've got the full might of the Joust behind you. He's been fined $20,000 for speaking his mind on a show where he's paid to speak his mind.
And all he said, and this is your right to say, you know, freedom of speech is something we value highly in this country. All he said was our game is stupid. Now, I will defend Gus here. He didn't single out Abdo. He didn't single out Volandis. Yeah. He is a part of the game. He said, our game.
Our game.
Is that Phil Gould taking responsibility for how stupid apparently rugby league is according to him?
Yeah, he sort of incorporated himself being stupid. And these sort of things say, a game is stupid. Oh, why did they do this? And you can't make this rule, et cetera, which is, pretty much basically what those shows are built
Absolutely.
on. All of the, is criticised. But at the same time, he's sort of been fined as an employee of the game. But Phil has many jobs.
He's a man who wears many hats. That's why his hair looks so impeccable there.
Well, his hair looks great now. Do you remember when he had the caramel swirl for a while?
It was really odd. And then it greyed within the space of about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There was a 2-week period where he aged 25 years.
Yeah. He's an interesting fella, Phil Gould. Obviously, now he's been fined. He's going to fight the fine, so I guess he's going to take his employer to court. But
he asked him that...
Is he employed by the NRL via working for the Dogs? Is that the only reason he's employed for the NRL?
He's an employee of the Canterbury Bankstown Rugby League Club, who are a private entity. They're not owned by the NRL.
No, but they get funded by the Dogs.
They do get funded by the NRL. But I wonder, that's mainly for the salary cap. Do we think Phil Gould's maybe biting the hand that feeds him?
Potentially.
Like a bulldog would if you put your hand in front of it.
He's just being a good honest dog.
But of course, Andrew Abdo and Peter Volandis, being the wise men that they are, they came out and said, no, Philip.
Yeah, they said,
don't
hush.
do that.
Hush. They're giving him, I was going to say they're giving him hush money. They're taking hush money away from him.
Now, the first line from Abdo and Volandis, we welcome constructive criticism and passionate opinions. That's all Phil's done.
Yes.
It's another example of Volandis and Abdo flip-flopping, making up things on the fly, deciding who they can and can't fine on a whim.
Maybe a week before a game starts, they said we're changing the rules again.
And with more to come about the changing of the rules, which again, I agree with Gus. It has got to a level where it is stupid.
Stupid.
Yeah. Fine us, Volandis.
Yeah. See if you can find us here at the Wickham Park Hotel.
I've only got $50 in my bank account. Good luck getting that out of me. Yeah.
Can't draw blood from a stone or pennies from either of us. Now, one of your most loved clubs, Liam, is back in the news, the North Sydney Bears.
It's finally happened, Joust. The North Sydney Bears, you heard it here first, are returning to professional first-grade rugby league, Naggy. Now, they were unceremoniously dumped in 1999. Some would say they were merged with the Manly Sea Eagles to form the Northern Eagles.
For a hot minute.
It wasn't a merger. It was Manly trying to cannibalise the great club that fed the juniors to Manly. Cliff Lyons was the North Sydney Bears junior. People erase that out of history. But they were unceremoniously dumped in 1999, and finally in 2024 we are going to see the North Sydney Bears return to first-grade professional football.
Wonderful.
Is it in the NRL, Naggy?
No, I don't think it is. No.
Now, what they've done, and this is quite remarkable, they've teamed up with the Boston 13s in a revamped USA Rugby League competition, and they will be playing as the Boston Bears. So what you're going to see is a feeder club for the North Sydney Bears in Boston, which is a great city. I'll never forgive them for 2011 NHL Stanley Cup Finals, but we'll get into that later. But to see the North Sydney Bears return to rugby league in a competition the Knights don't play in, so I don't have to cheer against them. That's nice, because I even if they return to the NRL, I wouldn't cheer for the Bears.
I've always got a little bit confused when the Bears, because there was always a big campaign to bring the Bears back.
Every time there's an expansion, every time there's a relocation, it's always Greg Florimo in the press saying, we've got 100,000 members, bring us back.
Yeah.
Finally worked.
But if it was, like, let's say in America or in Perth, where they often talk about having a side, Adelaide, etc., and then said, we're going to be the Bears, and be like, great, the Bears are back, but they're not the North Sydney Bears. It's just the logo.
The Central Coast Bears.
Effectively, we're bringing the logo back. Is what we're really campaigning for.
Maybe the jerseys.
Yeah,
you can still buy the jerseys on Peter Wynn's score. So the jerseys are ready to go. They just need to scratch out North Sydney.
I had a wonderful time up there down there when we went to up there in North Sydney.
Now I haven't confirmed this, but I do believe they are going to take North Sydney Oval brick by brick, relocate it to Boston and plant a huge tree in the middle of it, as is tradition in North Sydney. But now the Boston Bears join an illustrious competition made up of some of the great rugby league names you'll ever see. They will be playing against the Tampa Mayhem.
Yeah.
That's a great one. The Delaware Black Foxes.
I see.
The Santa Rosa Dead Pelicans.
Of course.
And of course...
1 second. Can you go back one?
The Santa Rosa Dead Pelicans.
These are legitimate sides.
These are legitimate sides. Yeah. The Los Angeles Mongrels.
Okay.
And of course, the powerhouse Herriman Rabbitars.
No.
Naggy, did you think that I said Rabbitohs incorrectly?
No, I sound like you did, but I'm going to say that they have just named their side incorrectly.
Now, let me read the spelling from the official NRL.com website about this article. R-A-B-B-I-T. It's all good here.
They're doing well.
Yep. They're doing really well now. A-H-Z.
Okay.
Z in their parlance. The Rabbitars. So I wonder maybe are the Rabbitohs kind of piggybacking off the Bears and saying, well, if you can do it, we can do it better.
We're going to even upgrade our name.
Yeah. Two of 1908's finest.
Yeah, from a great colloquial call, of course, when someone was selling rabbits in Sydney and they would shout out Rabbitoh, Rabbitoh, for the cheap meat in the poorer areas. This is just apparently just another Rabbitoh it sounds to Australians where Rabbitar.
Now, something just triggered in my head, Naggy, and you jousters might remember this. Early in the year, there was an announcement by David Letterman that Billy Crystal and he had bought the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Had he accidentally bought the Herriman Rabbitars? Herriman.
Whereabouts are they from? Herriman?
They're from Herriman.
Are they hairy men that are also playing for the Rabbitars?
Well, no, rugby league players aren't hairy anymore. It's a shame.
Sounds like something like...
Remember, rugby league players used to be ugly and they used to be hairy.
Yeah.
It was great.
They were. Now they're all hairless.
Not
Like for me.
Seals.
Not for me. I'll tell you what. Give me back the hair. Interesting things happening over there in the United States. Good to see rugby league reaching its arm over there after a very successful Las Vegas campaign. It happened immediately, apparently.
Very, very promptly.
They
you got to capitalise.
They
have had a first-grade professional competition in the US before, but no one over there really knows what rugby league is, so it didn't work too well. But of course, you had the success of the Toronto Wolfpack.
Of course.
In the English Super League.
Are they successful?
They actually were quite successful, but then COVID kind of fucked them. Because it's a long way, Toronto to London. So they relocated to the sporting powerhouse of Cornwall. From a small town, Toronto, of 4 million people, they moved to Cornwall, which has 25 retirees and a couple of bonged out surfers.
It's the penis of England, really, because it sort of sits like a flaccid penis.
Yeah, well, the whole of England is a penis.
There's a whole of it. Well, it's more of a frozen dog turd. We're going to take a quick halftime break, and we go everything Newcastle Knights, upcoming and previously just happening in just a moment.
Alrighty then.
Liam, welcome back for the very first time to the second half of the Joust. See what I did there? I'm learning, not saying welcome back to the second half of the Joust, because I'm introducing the second half of the Joust.
He's like a sponge joust. He's always yearning for knowledge, drinking it in, and then squeezing it out.
I do a lot of squeezing.
Every week, we somehow bring up wanking.
Speaking of the first time, but not for the first time yourself or myself or anyone else, Liam, you went to the Wickham Park Hotel before the game.
I thought, what better way to enjoy a day of rugby league than by kicking off watching reserve grade at the Wickham Park Hotel and eating the Joust burger this week, ladies and gentlemen. Our Joust burger was a honey soy chicken.
Ooh.
It was honey soy battered chicken thigh. Now, I was a bit concerned.
Yes.
The chicken thighs that they are using seem to be from some sort of irradiated, enormous chicken.
Okay, well, they're huge. They're
huge.
Amazing. Well, they only get the best chicken there.
Absolutely.
Corey there in the kitchen, as well as Steve and Tristan. They all do a wonderful job down there at the Wickham Park Hotel. I think it was
a wonderful burger, and it really did what I needed it to do, which was absorb many, many beers that I drank out of stress. Sorry, ginger beers.
Ginger beers.
Brookvale ginger beer. Delicious.
We also set up a camera, and we got some footage there of when the Knights ended up winning. But of course, there's a huge crowd there.
Well, it's fantastic.
Of when the Newcastle Knights were coming up against the Warriors. Now, last week I told you that I said, I'm hoping that we see the Newcastle Knights take out the win against the Warriors, and we don't let anyone down. And there it is. There it is. I tell you what, that Wickham Park Hotel inside is huge.
Yeah. And at the ground, of course, it was me and 16,000 of the finest men and women and children you could ever meet upon this earth, and a couple that weren't, but they'll come up in the hats back on.
You said, Liam, that you would love to have gone to this game, which you did.
Yes.
Because that you missed the deluge rain of the Saints game.
I had to make my penance justice when we saw the monsoon marathon against the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I saw the grit and determination of almost 10,000 Knights fans out there in the rain, and I was sitting there in the comfort of my own home like a coward.
Yes,
I took the soft way out, and I said I prefer my chair to a seat at Marathon Stadium,
Robert
and I
Ford.
regretted it. The coward Robert Ford.
You were the coward Robert Ford.
Yeah.
But you thought, hang on a second, we play really, really well in the rain.
Yeah.
And then we thought,
God's tears.
We better go back to get drenched in God's tears once again at Marathon Stadium.
And when you know, it paid off.
What do you know? Yeah. Hey, it's the return.
We're 2 from 2 in monsoon conditions.
We love the wet.
Is it an El Nino this year, or are we in La Nina?
La Nina. I don't know. Apparently,
which one's the rainy one? If we're in El Nino, the Knights might win the premiership. If it just pisses down for right through till the end of September, early October, I think I'll be okay with that if it means the Proven Summons finally returns home up the M1 to Newcastle.
We were coming off a win. They were coming off 2 losses, but everyone said, the Warriors are about to find their groove against the Newcastle Knights. No. How about no this week? Because...
What's the opposite of a groove?
I don't... smooth?
A lump. There you go. Warriors found their lump.
So it was an interesting game, obviously, starting off. It wasn't a huge point-scoring game with only 3 tries between us. We had to share the 3 tries, but we took 2 of them. We only gave them 1.
Arguably should have been a 4th, but we'll come to that in a moment. But it was a great game that was won through grit and determination. Grit and determination were the buzzwords flitting around the crowd there. And it was based on the same way the Knights won last week, the same way the Knights won in the previous marathon monsoon.
Yes.
High completion footy.
We
saw a completion rate 79%, which in the conditions is quite remarkable.
81% actually.
81. Oh,
81.
Well, they've updated that in the last 3 hours since I checked, so that's even better. There you go. Proves my point all the more.
It did.
And if we skip to the next slide, which of course has the big metrics. These are all the big ones we look at. The Knights
didn't win
many of them. No. But when you don't win many of the metrics, if you win the possession metric, generally that will trump getting less running meters. But also runs entirely.
We didn't win the possession either.
No, nor that. But again, when we had the possession, we held it better by 1%.
What we did with it. Yeah, what we did with the possession. So everyone's got possession. It's what you do with it.
Exactly.
And if we break down even further to the players, obviously there's lots of players that have done well in these harsh conditions there.
We thought Davey from the Navy would be sweet in the wet because of his naval background.
Yeah, he's likely to be for life. They say in the song. But it wasn't the strongest game from. But I don't think our fullback can really have a very, very strong game without a few errors. They put on a lot of pressure in the rain, the wet conditions. You got 13 men trying to kill you.
And as a fullback, Sean Johnson was giving David Armstrong, Greg Maja, Inari Tuala absolute nightmares. He was putting torpedoes up that you couldn't fire out of the bow of an LA-class nuclear attack submarine. Like, it's one thing when you see a beautiful torpedo bomb executed on TV and the camera tries to follow it, but it wobbles in and out. When you see a Sean Johnson torpedo bomb live, it's stunning. Because usually, you get the contact and it's got a good spin on it, but it's a bit wobbly here and there. These were arrow straight spin. It was just beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch. I love a good torpedo punt, and Sean Johnson, in wet conditions, was executing them flawlessly. There was 3 or 4 of them. We were sitting about 3 rows back from the very, very top. Like, we were way in the nosebleeds. I said some of them were getting to eye level.
Wow.
He was kicking him that high and that remarkably and that perfectly that I was just looking straight ahead. I didn't have to look down.
At one stage, it was a big surprise for me to see Greg Margieu, the bus, who, very heavy vehicle. It's on the ground there as we covered last week, more than 4 wheels. Sometimes there's 6, sometimes they're 8. There's lots of them. And he managed to get off the ground at one stage to catch a ball. And I thought, good God, what do we have here?
We have a bus with good springs. It's good suspension's made of springs, isn't it?
Shocks. Shocks and all those things.
But the other thing that stood out to me, Naggy, and this was reminiscent of a Knights win last year that I attended with Dad as well. Of course, went with the old man and with the old ball and chain. Brittany came along as well. We met Button Man's Josh and his lovely partner Chloe there, sitting up in the nosebleeds. The thing that really reminded me of the Melbourne win last year that kind of kick-started things.
Yes.
The Newcastle Knights defence.
Oh, yes.
Especially on the edges. You've got your edge pairings of Kai Pierce-Paul, Bradman Best. You've got your edge pairings, Dylan Lucas, Dane Gagai. And then the wingers as well contributed. Yes. But the edge defence, especially on the line and within the Warriors' attacking area, was simply superb.
Yes.
I think the NRL known statsman Michael Ennis, he said that the Warriors had, I think, 42 attempts to crack the Newcastle line. They only did it once.
Yes.
They only did it one time, and it was due largely to the wonderful edge defences.
And this was not just edges that were coming across. These were the famous alphabet soup.
Yeah.
That you need that true grit to really be able to repel back.
Yeah. Your RTSs, your CNKs, your TMMs, your AFBs. Where were they?
Where were they?
They didn't even open the can of soup.
They couldn't get it.
They left the tin opener at home.
It was dry.
The DWZs.
You can't have a dry soup.
You can't have a dry soup.
Especially in the wet.
Especially in the wet. But it was grit and determination and defensive stick-to-itiveness that I think won the game for the Newcastle Knights.
Now, the Knights got off, obviously, to the first try and then went off to an 8-point lead, similar to what they did against the Dolphins.
Which was something we discussed. We needed to get out strong in the opening 20 because that's where the Warriors have been strong.
Yeah. Points against us came in the way of Dylan Walker. So by the time it really shows, like their starting pack really couldn't crack it, so they had to bring on Dylan Walker, who often breaks the game open, and did so and got under the try. Were you worried, Liam? Was there a sense of dread at all?
Yes, always. It's a Knights game. There's always a sense of dread. We're 30 points up, and we're still, they could, it's 5 minutes to go. They could feasibly score 7 tries in 5 minutes. You never know.
The Knights are finding a way to sort of have battles against the clock. It was. You're against the team, and then you're also just constantly looking at the clock. And
then the Knights lose, and time is a flat circle, and we're back where we started back in 1988. There we go.
8-6 at half time, and obviously with the only other points coming out of that was Daniel Saifiti going over in the 67th minute, and then slightly before that, Sean Johnson kicking a penalty goal in the 53rd.
And there was a couple of other things of note that, being there in person, you get to appreciate so much more than on the telecast. And I love having Brittany there as well, because she's learning a lot about rugby league. She takes a lot on, and a couple of times on the kick chase, she'd say, "Oh, boys, you got to get there quicker." And I'd see, across the field, and I'd say, "Oh, no, Dale, they don't get there quicker because they have a perfect chase line." Anytime there was a kick put to the middle, the line was perfectly straight. When there was a kick to the edges, the second row, centre, wing, coming up hard, and then, that 3-man unit would constantly, stop the Warriors generally in that corner. And so that was something that really impressed me, that again, you don't really get in the telecast.
You saw Montoya often having to basically run across field to try to get around them, and it failed every time. There was no big runs from DWZ or from Montoya, and this is what I was expecting coming in. These are massive wingers, obviously RTS as well, coming in there with his big steps. He had one big step he sort sort of run, and that was about it. He seems to be only good for one these days.
And then Brittany asked, why do they keep kicking it to the fullback? Because CNK got it on the full so many times, and I tried to explain it away. He's an effort player. He's everywhere. He's always there. And I was like, well, maybe it's just because, Knights halves still aren't great at kicking. They just kick it straight to him every time.
Flogging it up there.
And, I tried to, maybe I was in denial. I was like, oh, no, he's just good. He's everywhere. He's all over the place. So, no, they just keep kicking it straight to him.
Charles Nicoll-Klokstad obviously is a very good fullback and someone that I rate highly. He didn't have the best game against the Knights, which I was very, very happy to see. Now, it wasn't without its controversy, though, Liam. Was it a clean win? Because obviously after the game, we're obviously talking about things, and one of them is that DWZ was jumped up for kickoff Sean Johnson.
As he likes to do and is very good at.
And now he's over the try line. And now he's got the ball
and he's
in his
over the
hands.
bus.
Yeah, and he's over the bus. The bus is there.
He's Evel Knievel.
He's Knieveled.
Jumping over the bus on his Indian motorcycle.
And now the bus is either grabbed a leg or he's just copped a knee to the face. We're not really sure, but we've got an image of it up there. And then they've said, well, he's tackled him in the air. And then he's gone to put the ball down and he's dropped it. And we say, was that because of the tackle or was that because he's an idiot? We don't really know.
Well, that's the thing with DWZ. If you followed him for his whole career, it could be either. He still remains only the second player I've ever seen play the ball backwards. The first was in a Year 10 rugby league game against St. Paul's Burrigal. I tackled a fella, got up, I was at first marker, and he played the ball straight to me.
It can happen.
I didn't know what to do.
There's gifts.
I was really confused. I ran straight to the sideline. I checked the rule book, and I said, Coach, that's wrong. But anyway, so DWZ, it could have been either. Yep. But obviously, the discussion was, should it have been a penalty try? It went to the bunker.
Yep.
They said it's a penalty tackled in the air. He may have regathered and scored. He may not have. We don't know. Penalty, no try. But you'd think in that situation, it's a try-scoring act. And, the rules have been muddied last year by those shills in charge, Abdo Volandis, tweaking the rules at every sign of finally we're content with where the game is. No, let's tweak the rules. And Annesley came out in his press conference on Monday, as he traditionally does, to explain all the blunders.
All the muddied water.
But he
muddied it further.
He
said, big bucket of sand.
He said, well, they don't have to be completely sure that he would have grounded it. The bunker should have made a decision, but they didn't. You didn't explain why.
But they also did make a decision. The decision just didn't.
The decision was a non-decision.
A non-decision.
Yeah.
But they can't tell the future, especially when it's already in the past. When the ink is dry, it's very hard to rewrite it. I've always said this, Liam.
You're a deeply philosophical man, Naggy.
If it's in the past, how can you rewrite it and say, well, what if something else was to happen? We would be in a different place. Yeah. Potentially, the bunker wouldn't be involved at all.
Ideally.
They would write themselves out of history. They'd be gone. They'd make the decision, they'd hit the button, and they'll cease to exist.
But I think this calls into question a much larger discussion that I think the rugby league world needs to have. And the rugby league world is having at the moment, is the poor standard of refereeing this year. Now, we have seen so many absolute howlers coming out this season.
I think so.
For example, last weekend just gone, Isaac Tungo, sent off for a hip drop, only a 1-week ban.
Yes.
Aiden Caesar, mere days later.
Hip drop.
No sin bin. 4-week ban with the early guilty plea. Now, as much as it's
they're breaking the same rule.
The same rule. Yeah. Now, as much as it is our, one of our finest and most deep-seated traditions of Australians to personally hurl insults at referees and tear them down from doing their job and just trying their best, we don't like that. But I have come to the point now, and even this is after a call that benefited the Knights, that we need to put the blame where the blame needs to be put, which is with the men administrating the game, making the rules that no one knows anymore.
That's right.
What are the rules of rugby league?
They keep changing. We don't know.
We don't know.
Every year.
Are you allowed to tackle? Are you not allowed to tackle?
I don't know.
Can you kick the ball?
We joke, maybe tackling's going to be ruled out.
Tackling might be ruled out. Kicking the ball might be ruled out. There's too much danger of hurting your foot.
It's a very dangerous game.
Yeah, it's getting a bit ridiculous that these shills, I don't know if you know this, Abdo's not even Australian. That's the man we're letting run our game. They're changing the rules on whims from day to day to day, and it makes me feel for the poor referees of rugby league. I'm really trying to deflect from that last comment.
Where's he from?
I think he's South African.
Okay. Kiwi. Is it Kiwi?
No, anyway, not from here.
He's not from
so.
Okay, yeah.
But they keep changing the rules on whims.
Yes.
And where are we?
They keep changing them. Sorry, it was
Yeah,
it came as a shock. We want good, honest Australian rules.
Yeah. Made by good, honest Australian men.
And women.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
We made it so far. What are we? 37 minutes
Well,
in.
they made a woman a referee, and David Clemmer's just been sent off for dissent at swearing at her.
That's true. That's
there
true.
you go.
Yeah.
No, David Clemmer. But it's you're the people who are setting rugby league women's rights back.
I think so.
Be nicer.
Be nice. Be nice. Be nice to yourselves and each other. What else do we have from that game, Liam?
Hats on to the short dropout.
Yeah. Hats on to the short dropout.
Hats back on. I'm skipping straight to hats back on because this is the last thing I had in my notes.
Yeah.
Winning by 6.
Yes.
20 minutes to go.
Yep.
Terrible rain. Hard to catch the ball. Hard to kick a ball accurately from a drop kick. They go for a short dropout. It goes 20 metres, so it's not contestable anyway. There's no Knights player that could have made it there to contest the kick.
It's a soft
it's
kick.
An easy catch for the Warriors, and it gives them another, another set at the line.
You'd think maybe kick it long and hope that they make an error within that sort of 40 to 30 metres and get the ball back in good position.
Now, the Knights have been doing this since the short dropout became back in vogue. We've been trying and trying and trying.
Not very good at it.
I think we're the worst team in the NRL when it comes to short rugby league dropouts.
We used to have a winger that was 7 foot tall, and we still couldn't get many of them.
Which one was that?
Dom Young.
Oh, yeah, he was. He was really good. Still couldn't get it. Still couldn't do it. And yet they persist.
Yeah.
They persist with that. That's
They
not
do.
my official hats back on, but
Okay,
it was the last thing in my notes.
That's all right.
And it made me furious.
Let's go hats.
This is a very angry episode.
Let's go for let's go for a hats off for the first time. To a player that we think did excellent. Liam, who is your hats off?
Danga
this week?
Guy.
The captain.
Danga Guy. The captain, the veteran, the man who, in the absence of some stars, some veterans, you really
Three of
need
their best,
your...
potentially, if you look at Kaiser Frizzell, Jacob Saifidi, Kalen Ponga, the three of our most very recent State of Origin representatives, all out.
That's it. You need your captain and veteran presence to stand up, and Danga Guy stood up. He was a rock in defence. That was where it really stood out. It doesn't show up in the stats, which were good stats.
Who was he marking, Liam? Who was he marking?
RTS.
RTS.
Yep. That's a hard man to mark.
And he
was
did
he a mark? He was?
He was.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
100%.
He's a hard man to mark. And there was 3 separate instances where Danga Guy covered attacking kicks that the Warriors could have got to and scored. 3 times. Count them, Jess. 1, 2, 3. One of them he dropped immediately upon being tackled, but then pulled off some heroic defence in that very second.
It's because he was trying to applaud himself, you see, and then he dropped the ball.
And it was a dessert. Usually we don't like when people applaud themselves.
No,
you fancy bastards. Don't clap for yourself. But in that instance, it was warranted. So Danga Guy, largely for his defensive efforts, he was great in attack as well, don't get me wrong, but his defense and cover was truly something to marvel at.
It really was.
Yeah, he's having a really, really good year, Danga Guy.
I think so too. It's
so watch as the Roosters sign him just as he wins a premiership with the Knights.
33 years old. He's playing very, very well. Well, my hats off was to Adam Elliott.
Now, an unsung hats off, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like a massive stats game for him. 34 tackles is pretty good. 14 runs with 75 metres. However, when Dylan Walker came on, as I mentioned before, he seemed to be the one that was going to shake up their back line. He likes to get involved. He runs the ball. He passes the ball. He adds that extra man. And he obviously scored the try under the post. And then after that, Adam Elliott just says, hey, don't worry, I can give you a call anytime because I've got your number. I've got it. I've got it saved. And he seemed to line him up in not in a conventional tackle, but great tackles in the wet of these massive bear hug tackles, which you don't often see. But it was these one-on-one sort of things that stopped the offload as well as just neutralised.
Well, you've seen how big Millie Boyle is. Imagine trying to cuddle her in bed of a night time.
He's had some practice.
I almost, now when, I think it was Adam Elliott and Leo Thompson, when they put a particularly large hit on Dylan Walker and looked like they'd ruled him out for the season, I immediately texted the group chat and said, hats off those two boys for ending Dylan Walker's season. But then he scored.
Yeah, but then he did
my
score
hubris led to a Dylan Walker try.
Hats back on, Liam. When we take a hat off, we have to return it to a head with something we don't like about what's happened.
Now, there was an impromptu hats back on for the Knights continuing continuing with the short dropout. But my proper hats back on goes to the youths. Now, there's a real trouble with youths in this country at the moment. Young people, they're stealing from bottle shops. They're trading the booze for vapes. And at one point in the game, there was a group of youths sitting right in the back row, like it's the back of the bus. They think they're really cool. They sit in the back row. And we heard a very loud voice yell, give me the vape. And we turned around and there was a Maori fella who looked like he could have been playing in the front row for the Warriors that day.
Big guy.
Yelling at these children to give him the vape.
Okay, so they were vaping out there.
They were vaping
in the crowd.
And they just said, nah.
Oh, right.
Said, nah. And then the security guard, he went into enormous big dad mode.
Yep.
He said, I'm going to count to 5.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2. He counted backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then he just walked up the row of seats and took the vape away from him.
Snatched it away?
Yeah, and then said, I'm calling the cops, and then the kids ran anyway.
Ah.
So hats off to that security guard, but hats back on to the misguided youths of this country.
Causing ruckus.
They need God in their lives.
Speaking of God,
Go to
Liam,
church, you idiots.
My hat's back on actually goes to the rugby league gods.
Great segue.
Yeah, very, very religious.
Good Catholic boys.
The two fellas on the trophy there we have as the rugby league gods. Weren't
Norm
sure
Provan and Arthur Summons.
Yeah, we thought they would be probably the rugby league gods, making all the decisions, pulling all the levers and the wires. You don't pull levers downwards; you shift them backwards and forwards. Anyway,
unless you have your levers sideways.
Yeah. Well, that's
perpendicular.
True. That's true, depending on my hand. And the problem I have with the rugby league gods, because they're there to even everything out. You know, you get a bad call against you, and then you get a good call against you, or a bad thing happens to the team, et cetera, that you're playing, and it all evens out. But one of the things that kept evening out, which I didn't like, was the Knights were off to a really good start where they were getting all the penalties, and then the Warriors
were getting the hometown calls,
and the Warriors were dropping all the ball, and I thought, well, this is great, this is fantastic. We're going to win by 1,000 points. And then, of course...
Again, your hubris almost undid us.
The rugby league gods right there came down and just started meddling around with puppeteers of our souls.
They went full Old Testament. Knights are winning. We're going to flood the joint.
Yeah, we're going to flood it. And then the rain came down, and then the Knights started making mistakes, and then the penalties swung back the other way, leading to the Warriors' try. And I said, damn those rugby league gods! And then I was struck by lightning. It was amazing. Norm Provan, you sly dog, you. That was my
saying. Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. I doubt that.
No, I think probably does.
Yeah. No. You look at the Empire State Building, for example. It has a tall spire on it to attract the lightning.
Of course, yeah.
So that it will dissipate throughout the structure and won't burn the building to the ground with a lightning strike. That's one spot. It gets hit a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It's literally twice.
Who made up that dumb saying?
I don't know.
2 times, same place.
Plenty more fish in the sea. Even when there's not. Liam, we have to look forwards and backwards and not forwards.
Twirling, always twirling.
And we have the Tigers in Tamworth, the alliteration there. Now, you're very excited for this game because you're off to Tamworth.
I am. I'll be heading out to Tamworth, the country music capital of Australia. I went to Tamworth a couple of months back.
Yep.
And I must say, the golden guitar... It's kind of disappointing.
Okay.
Not because it's not great at being a large guitar that's gold.
Certainly.
It does that very well. It does that very, very well.
Yep.
But, you see photos of it in the old days. There's a country pub behind it and just surrounded by the plains of Tamworth, which is good. That's country. You see a big fuck-off guitar,
yes,
a pub,
and
then just flat land. That's great. That to me
country,
screams Australia.
Yeah, no skyscrapers.
But you know what there is now?
What is there now?
A strip mall motel. There's an Porto, not Australian. McDonald's, I think, not Australian.
Not Australian.
Might be a jail there or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I just remember I was very, very not ashamed to be an Australian, but I was.
You were ashamed of the Australian big thing.
I was. I was.
Yeah.
The Australian big thing should have nothing around it to distract from its big fingeredness.
Yeah.
But now they're like, look at that. That's a tourist centre? I don't want a tourist centre.
Now, Liam, I will play devil's advocate here.
Ooh.
Now, you are a big fan of the Big Banana up there.
Love the Big Banana.
Up there. Yeah, but that also had a lot of things.
It did. It was brilliant. They just kept adding on. Yeah. Originally, it was a banana farm with a big banana. And then they said, we're going to add a monorail. And so you take the monorail around the banana farm.
Ice rink.
And then they added at the top some sort of space exhibit where they had this is what the inside of a space shuttle looks like. We're going to take you through the solar system. Then they built a skating rink. And then to cap it off, a downhill skiing run. That famous banana-related activity. Downhill skiing run. Truly one of Australia's icons.
Yes.
It's in our blood to build big things.
Yes.
But I just think in Tamworth they've gone too far to surround it with with things of convenience.
Okay,
I don't want convenience when I'm visiting a national monument.
No, you want time and solace and place of reflection.
I do, yeah.
Now we're there at Scully Park there in Tamworth, Liam. Lovely oval there.
Lovely oval. Do you know how many pubs there are in Tamworth?
I'm going to say a few.
There's heaps.
Yeah,
That's great.
Those country towns always have lots.
I was there for the NRL Grand Final.
Mungie's got 7.
Remember when we went to Orange?
Orange
and they were all
year.
shut for State of Origin. That was weird.
Some of them were shut. Yeah, we ended up going to the Leagues Club.
Yeah.
Oh no, we went to the RSL.
RSL.
Yeah,
of course.
and they shut right after the game finished.
It was very odd. It was very odd. Are country pubs dying? I hope not. They're, again, one of this nation's finest institutions. But the Knights have a long and storied history in Tamworth, which a lot of people won't know about. It goes, in fact, all the way back to 1990. Now, back in those days, when rugby league was a game for the people, they'd say, you've got a regular season of rugby league, you've got the final series, you've got a grand final to decide the winner of that season. Yep. And then we're going to give you more rugby league. They had a post-season knockout contest, which in its first year, I believe, was the Channel 10 Challenge. Then it was the Lotto Challenge. That was back when rugby league was on Channel 10, of course.
Of course.
It wasn't just Channel 9, but Channel 10 sponsored and said, "Oh, we're getting in on your home of rugby league, my ass, 2 games a week." Jesus Christ. Wake up to yourself, Weidler. So anyway, we go back to 1990. We've got a stirring win from Newcastle, 24-10.
Great win.
Some stalwarts of the Knights were in that side. Mark Glanville, Glenn Grief, Sam Stewart, inaugural captain.
Tony Butterfield would have been there.
No, Butterfield wasn't.
Oh, really?
No, he wasn't. A young chief coming off the bench. Then, of course, the following season, the Knights succumbed 28-13 to the Brisbane Broncos. Now, you got to remember, this was the Brisbane Broncos of the early 90s. It was star-studded.
Yep.
I can't remember any of the team.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I looked at it earlier.
That's okay.
But it was star-studded.
Yep.
Dale Shearer was there, so, you know. And I think a 28-13 loss, pretty gentlemanly.
Huge gap after that, Liam, to 2018.
Yeah.
When we played the Tigers. Now, what do we remember about this game, the 2018 game against the Tigers?
Jamie the Fuhrer and his crossfield bomb for Sean Kenny Dowell to win the game.
Yes.
Late in the game.
Jamie with his crossfield bomb, obviously quite slightly.
Famous World War II dictator, James Bureau.
Slightly before Phoenix crossfield bombland was Jamie the Fuhrer Bureau.
And of course, that was the torn bicep from Mitchell Pearce.
Mitchell Pearce had torn his bicep only moments before. Sean Kenny Dowd, a familiar face there that won't be featuring in the game, but is also quite ironic that he's in there. Is
the Cog.
Jack Cogger for the School of Unremarkable Boys.
That was back when he was in kindergarten at that school.
He was.
And they still named it after him.
It was only a pup.
And then, I didn't remember this, there was a Knights game against the Warriors.
That we lost?
36-6.
In 2020.
Do you remember that?
Strange year. No, I can't remember that.
COVID year, wasn't it?
That was COVID. It must have been after we come back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very odd.
Us out of our pants.
Oh, 2 of us to check.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So a bit of a mixed, experience for the Newcastle Knights in Tamworth, but one that I'm confident will tip towards the Knights.
Feels like an extension of the Newcastle Knights territory out there. It feels like I know it's up and it's wide, and shouldn't it be? But it shouldn't be a Newcastle place.
Well,
but it feels like a lot of people like
Newcastle.
Newcastle.
given the way that rugby league is structured,
yes.
pretty much any part of northern New South Wales.
Yeah.
Like out to Broken Hill. Broken Hill's a suburb of Newcastle.
Yes, that's
in
right.
the NRL. You know, 'cause they sit in their ivory tower.
Well,
they sit in Sydney. They see anything outside the boundaries of Sydney.
Yeah.
That's Newcastle or Canberra.
Yeah.
That's it.
We do see
there was Illawarra. We don't want them. No, it's just Newcastle and Canberra.
We claim Taree pretty much as like
Taree's
a
part
Hunter.
of it, yeah.
Even though it's quite far away. Danny Badiris is from there,
Yep.
of course, and Wingham as well.
Wingham, yep.
That's all. That's all Newcastle.
Wingham, of course, they've got Timbertown.
Yeah,
Which is a log-themed theme park.
Timbertown and Mitch Barnett is the 2 things that Wingham has produced. If we look at the team
Imagine
list,
that. You take one of the most humble building blocks.
Yeah.
There's wood.
Wood.
Yeah, I'm going to theme a theme park around that.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. They got the whip crack. They got the wood chop. Remember you went and saw the wood chop at the Royal East?
I did, yeah. So they do that there, right? Oh, they chop the wood. Excellent.
Of course they do. It's a wood-themed theme
Well, I don't know.
park.
Well, I was thinking of wooden roller coasters. I don't know. I was lost. I thought they might have had a catapult. I'm not really
And
sure.
then out the front, you wouldn't believe it, just a big log.
Yeah,
That's Wingham's big thing. It's just a log.
That's where you know to pull the car over. There's the big log, kids. We've got the team list now. Some surprises make their way back. Obviously, the biggest surprise for the Newcastle Knights is the fact that the Frizz returns. Has been named. Hopefully, he plays.
I made the mistake of not checking Barry's Twitter about it over the last 2 days. He probably had a wonderfully snide comment about Frizzell. I love Barry's Twitter. Twitter. It's
he
awesome.
says, "Oh well, they said he's due back, so he probably won't be."
That was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, come back on the show, Barry. We miss you.
We do.
But
obviously, we look at the Tigers now. Api Coruscant has been named despite having a back and or calf injury. They're both at
the calf is the back of the leg.
They're at the back of the leg. That's the lower back, and
just above the upper groin.
There's also a few opportunities here for the worst kind of try to be conceded, and that is the nightmares of Christmas past for the Newcastle Knights. We've got David Clemmer, of course,
Stafford To'a,
as well as Brent Naden, if you want to go back far enough.
What?
He never cracked first grade, but
really?
he was in the Knight system. Yeah.
Man, I always really liked Brent Naden. I thought he was he still can be.
Well, he's in
a fantastic rugby league player.
He was in the 2021, I think, Penrith
they
squad.
Famously started Tyrone May, registered sex offender Tyrone May, ahead of him.
Yeah. This is all the goss. This is like rock bottom, this episode.
Well, we're talking about the rock bottom people of society. Rugby league media shills.
That's right.
Registered sex offenders. Foreigners. I'm half not from here, so I can say that.
That's true. You're
foreigner. That's my word. I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, you're barely. The Knights sitting comfortably on 11th. We're coming up against the Tigers, coming 15th. They're on 4 losses in the trot. Is that 5? 4
5 on the trot.
5 on the trot. Here we go. They got their 5 losses here.
Particularly close losses in most cases, though. I think, given the form of the Tigers over the last half decade, a loss by 10 or 12 points is still a close loss.
Pretty lost. There's no massive blowouts really.
Even losing 22-6 to Penrith.
Yeah,
I think in Tigers parlance, is a close loss.
Broncos was a bit of a blowout there.
There's exceptions to every rule.
That's true. It makes them the rules. Where I think potentially, if I was going to look forward for a bold prediction, where I think we might be able to win this game is actually using. Now, this might be a bit revolutionary for the Newcastle Knights side. And please bear with me if it's too much for anyone, but actually using our back 5 to score tries.
What?
I know.
Whoa! Yeah. Now, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Can you call? Was this a new rule change?
I think so.
Have Abdo and Volandis at a press conference today? Oh, you're back 5, boys.
I'm saying
they
finish
can score now.
Finish a backline movement in the hands of a back.
Finally, Abdo and Volandis have got one right. We have such good outside backs. They've finally made a rule that says our outside backs can score.
Yeah, I think so. It seems like everything's coming up the middle, maybe slightly on the edge, but we're seeing nothing from the wings. And Aro Tuala, Greg Margier, the bus is not getting any of the ball. I think Greg's only scored 1 try this year so far. He scored 22 last year.
He's outscored by Daniel Safidi, who scored 2 in 10 rounds.
Nari Tuala, I think, has scored 1 or 2, and he was, he's been our highest try-scoring person before.
Again, they're in bad years. I think he scored 10 tries one year, 11 tries.
But still, it's 10 and 11. We're creeping up to halfway through the season. Where do you think the Tigers are the most dangerous, Liam?
Well, I think they were the most dangerous when Alex Seyfarth decided to commit a violent assault last week on Reid Marnie and threw his head into Reid Marnie's noggin.
Oh, good old-fashioned headbutt.
A good old-fashioned headbutt. We've been very pro-violent assaults within the confines of the rugby league field. Yep. So I think if we can just do what Reid Marnie did, niggle all 17 Tigers players into headbutting the Knights players, and of course getting sent to the sin bin. And maybe, like David Clemmer's pretty easy to trigger.
Yeah, well, they managed to get...
swears at refs willy-nilly.
They managed to get 2 off. 2 off there with the...
Same time in the same fracas.
With the niggles. Hopefully Tyson Gamble there with his niggling ways can get in and get under the skin of all the angry people. And also Jackson Hastings, of course, and David Clemmer had a bit of a stoush last year as well. So maybe we can increase that and get them getting angry at us and losing all their players.
If there was one bloke I wouldn't want to be headbutted by, David Clemmer. Didn't he headbutt Corey Parker once?
Potentially. Yeah, that makes sense.
David Clemmer was new to Origin. Corey Parker was a seasoned veteran. Corey Parker said, what did he say? He said, show some respect. And David Clemmer fired back, get fucked, cunt.
Yeah, well...
Something like that.
Clean. Very clean. He's a good, honest Catholic boy, David Clemmer. But hopefully we're going to see some really... Api Coruscant being named, but of course he's got
He worries me. Remember the game against the Chooks?
Yeah.
Brandon Smith through the middle, doing what Api Coruscant's very, very good at.
I think up the middle.
You know, Daniel Safidi, he in the game on the weekend, he did have his classic lazy defensive lapse, trying to be that third marker, making it back to the line, waiting and ran straight into it.
I think hopefully
Appy concerns me.
Appy, yeah.
I just tried to say Coruscant and concerns. They're very closely related.
Appy Concernasau could be the one that breaks this game open, and also their 5'8", whose name escapes me.
Lachlan Galvin.
Lachlan Galvin.
I've got a young spine. Galvin's very good. Buller's very good. Bud Sullivan is yet to prove that he's very good.
Yeah.
So far hasn't been. But
School for Unremarkable Boys. Look at it. Also, if you're keen on doing some non-betting tipping, jump on the Kingdom Facebook page. There you can bet on. It's just basically predicting whether you're going to get the first try score the minute it's scored against the.
And who have you suggested in this week's
I haven't bet this week, but I think David Armstrong's going to go over for the first try in the 5th minute. That's part of it.
I worry that Davey from the Navy is playing in an inland town. Oh, he's from Moree. Moree's as inland as they get.
Loves it out there.
Good, honest country boy.
He's going to be great.
I don't want any city slickers playing at fullback.
Yeah, and speaking of all the Newcastle Knights, all the Newcastle people, I should say, city slickers, you can't get all the way out to Tamworth. It's very far away. You've got jobs to do. Why don't you head down to the Wickham Park Hotel to check out that game Saturday
and enjoy a delicious Joust burger.
Get there for lunch.
Just don't eat for the day before, and you probably won't eat the day after.
It was huge.
It was amazing. Yeah, very good.
It's going to be a great day down at the Wickham Park Hotel. Afternoon beers in the sunshine out there in the massive beer garden, and then you can stick around for all the entertainment that they have there on Saturday. Now, if you like us and you want to catch us again, please check out the social pipes there. We have there SoundCloud, TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, Apple Tunes, Facebook, and YouTube.
Well done, Naggy.
Nailed that.
Nailed him.
Practicing in the mirror. Hopefully, we're going to see for 3 wins in a row. We didn't think we'd be there after Kalen Ponga. I haven't even mentioned his name. We didn't
Who?
Think I know. We've forgotten about it. David Armstrong. That's who I meant. Our greatest fullback ever. So please tune in next week to hopefully watch the entire Knights team celebrate and slap their bits across the cooler as they do with all the water, singing the song as we win against the Tigers. We'll see you next week.